So you may heard of this name, Linux. You may or may not, but it is important to learn Linux. And I want to give you reasons why you should start using Linux right now. So let's get started. So, what is Linux? Linux is a group of open source operating systems which is developed by Linus Torvalds on 1991. And it is, there are lots of flavors inside Linux. So let's see what are the reasons why you should start using Linux right now. So, number one, Linux is free and open source. So, the main reason why you should learn Linux is because Linux is free and open source. You don't need to buy a product activation key to activate Linux like Windows because it is free and open source. So what is open source? Well, normally software companies will not provide you with the source code of their products. But in open source, the case is entirely different. The software companies will provide you with the source code officially, where you can download the source code officially from the website of the product. And for example, Linux is an example of open source that we are talking about, and also Mozilla Firefox and Chromium web browser and etc. There are lots of open source products out there like LibreOffice and etc. Number two, Linux is customizable. Well, what comes to your mind when you hear customization in Windows? Changing the wallpaper or changing the theme, like changing the theme light to dark or dark to light, or changing the lock screen wallpaper and etc. So these are officially known as customization in Windows. But in Linux, the case is entirely different. Since Linux is an open source operating system, you can customize it to the core, you can customize it from scratch, you can customize it entirely. And Linux gives you more than 800 different types of Linux distributions. What is a Linux distribution? The OS, the Linux OS, there are a lot of Linux OS out there, and they are known as Linux distributions. So, there are a lot of the Linux distributions out there, and you can choose one of them, and you can customize it, and you can use it how you want, and what you want. You can customize anything. You can customize not only the wallpaper and themes, you can customize your Linux distribution. And if you have a basic coding language, you can even develop your own distribution. That is the main point why I'm talking about. You can develop your own Linux OS if you have coding knowledge on you and some basic Linux commands, Linux is fast and lightweight. Linux is very lightweight. You can run Linux in anything. Linux does not have a limit to install it. And there is no limit where you can install Linux. Linux has a plenty of choices. Well, Linux has different types of Linux distros out there, like about 800 different types of Linux distros out there. You can choose any of them and you can do whatever with them, like Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and Fedora, Arch Linux, and etc. So you can choose anything which suits you, and that is also a reason why you should start using Linux. Number three, compatibility. So, compatibility. If you want to install Windows, you'll be required 2 gigs of RAM and 60 gigs of hard disk space and a dedicated GPU to run Windows smoothly. But Linux is not like that. You can run Linux on anything. You may think that I want to learn Linux, but I don't have a particular computer for that. Should I need to buy a computer or a laptop to learn Linux? Well, the answer is no. You can run Linux on anything. Here I have my primary laptop, which is about 10 years old, and it is running Linux like hell. You can see that. It is so smooth and it is amazing, right? So that is the power of Linux. You can run Linux on anything, and the compatibility is not a matter in Linux. Linux is user friendly. Well, Linux, it is frustrating, Linux, it is for only advanced user, right? Just kidding. Even a noob can use Linux. There are lots of user-friendly Linux distributions out there. You might think that what comes to your mind when you think about Linux? Does it look like this? A terminal window which is running like a matrix. It is running matrix, right? So, well, it is not. This is not the entire system. Even there are lots of systems. There are lots of user-friendly operating systems out there, like Ubuntu. You don't need to use command line operating system, which has Ubuntu has a GUI app store where you can install several apps like Spotify, Mozilla Firefox, and VLC media players, and etc. So, like as I said before, Pop! OS and Manjaro is one of the user-friendly distributions that I used previously. But when it comes to an advanced user, you'll be required an operating system like this. There's no big deal. So this is Endeavor OS that I'm using in my laptop right now. So this is an Arch Linux based distribution. So look at that. Isn't it cool? So that's why I'm using it. Job opportunities. This is the main thing. This is the main thing why you should learn Linux. You may have interest in IT, information technology, or going into cybersecurity. Linux is your best friend. Linux is the main skill you need to get into the industry of information technology and cybersecurity, because your career will be based on Linux, in IT. I'm talking about information technology and cybersecurity. So there are lots of job opportunities in Linux. Even you can create your own distribution and you can earn from it. So, and that is the 5 reasons why you should start using Linux right now. And even personally, I will get a lot of comments in my videos. Why are you using Linux? And this is the reason why you should use Linux. And personally, I love using Linux because since my laptop is an old laptop, Windows will not run smoothly. But I do use Windows in my laptop. I'm running Windows 8.1 in my laptop, so it works faster in Linux. So that is also one of a reason why I should use Linux. And I'll make a separate video. In the coming video, I'll be teaching you guys some basics Linux commands, and you can start using Linux there. So I hope that you learned something new in this video. If you like this video, please don't forget to give a like and also subscribe to my channel, and also visit cyberzypher's Facebook page and also Patreon page. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.